Senator Grassley heading for the exit there. You heard Casey talking about Republicans who didn't want to talk much publicly, but some are. And one of them joining me here now is Congressman Robert Pittenger of North Carolina, who is joining us. Thank you very much, Congressman, for being on the show. And I got to pick up on the news of the day here. Would it be appropriate, in your view, if the president fired Bob Mueller or pardoned the people involved?
I don't think there's any consideration whatsoever on the president's part of the White House to fire Bob Mueller. I think it's all speculation on the part of some folks in the media and other places. So
how about the pardons, Congressman?
It's really not a factor.
Would that be okay with you if he pardoned any of the people who've been named in these indictments or plea agreements?
I have to look at the merits of that and all the facts. It's really a lot of speculation on the basis for a pardon.
The Trump campaign was clearly open to working with Russians to dig up dirt on Hillary Clinton. We know that from these unsealed documents, from our reporting on that Don Jr. meeting, et cetera. In your mind, is this a judgment question? Do you feel you can still work with the White House right now?
Oh, I work well with the White House, and the thing that I admire about this president is that he's focused on his job, and the only time he's really dealing with these issues is when it comes up in the media. The president is focused on tax reform right now. He's still focused on health care reform. He's focused on good trade agreements. He's focused on securing our country. He's focused on North Korea. He's focused on Iran. This is a very focused president.
Based on what the president is tweeting just this morning, that is not what he's focused on. He's focused on calling George Papadopoulos a liar and saying that very few people knew his name when there's a picture, right, of the president sitting across the table from George Papadopoulos. So I have to respectfully push back on the idea that this is not something the president wants to be talking about. Why does he seem so distracted?
I think the president will always respond when he feels it's the appropriate thing to do to a statement made in the media. But other than statements made by the media, the president's focused on getting a job done for the American people.
But isn't it a statement made by the special counsel, Congressman, given the indictment and given the plea agreement? That's why the media is talking about this, because the investigation is now drawing a direct link, it seems, between the Trump campaign and the special counsel inquiry.
Well, let's take a look at investigations. Investigations start out looking at one area of concern and interest, and then they go on a fishing expedition and they find other things of interest.
Do you think Bob Mueller is on a fishing expedition, Congressman?
I think it's the nature of an investigation. I'm very aware with how they proceed in these investigations, and the intent of the investigation was structured to look at Russian collusion. And from that subset, you come up with other issues that are unveiled. And so these are things that have come out of the original investigation.
So I want to ask you about tax reform, but I want to make sure that I'm clear here, because I think this is an important point. Do you believe that the special counsel is overstepping the boundaries of his investigation?
I think the special counsel is just following whatever comes up. Certainly it's appropriate what he's doing right now in reference to Mr. Manafort. He appears to have evident basis for an indictment in this particular area, but this area is not related to collusion with the Russians.
But you said it is still appropriate, right? So if he continues to investigate, for example, financial crimes, and if that relates to anybody else related to the Trump campaign, you'd be okay with that?
Yes, ma'am. I think let's be clear. What the special counsel is doing right now is following what evidence comes up in terms of concerns related to Mr. Manafort, however that they are unrelated to the Russian, any possibility of a Russian collusion.
I know you want to talk about tax reform. The rollout is tomorrow. Is this not another example of what's happening right now this week of the Russia investigation yet again overshadowing the president's legislative agenda?
Well, I'm on this program as a courtesy to respond to your questions, but I will say that for the Speaker's mind, the Majority Leader's mind in the Senate, the President, and all of us in Congress, we're focused on this tax reform to reduce our taxes, to grow our economy, and create jobs for the American people.
You're one of the few Republicans, Congressman, who's come out and talked publicly in defense of the President. Why do you think that is?
I think there's many who feel the same way. We're just doing our job. We know what needs to be done to get this economy moving. It's been very stagnant. We've grown less than 2% economic growth, the abysmal amount of new jobs. And what this tax reform is going to do in lowering these taxes is going to be similar to what we did in the 1980s. It created 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 jobs a month. We need jobs. The American people need growth. They need opportunity. We need to expand the economy, and that's what this tax bill is all about.
Well, we're going to be looking into that and getting into some of those claims later on in the show. Congressman Robert Pittenger, thank you very much for joining us on what is a busy news day. I appreciate it. I want to bring in now our panel for the hour.